The holiday season is just around the corner once again. I'm of course talking about Christmas. I'll admit that I don't love Christmas as much as I did when I was a kid, but I still enjoy the Christmas aesthetic to a certain extent. And I also love watching Christmas themed anime. Aside from the warm fuzzy feeling that they give me, I've always found Christmas anime interesting because anime obviously comes from Japan, and Japan tends to celebrate Christmas differently than we do in the West. Of course there are similarities. They still have the standard values that we do for the holidays, spending time with family and friends, although Japanese people value that all year round. It's just taken into overdrive during Christmas. In the West, we pretty much say screw our family and friends until Christmas or maybe their birthdays. And I believe there's also gift exchanges as well. Not to mention the aesthetic can be very similar with the decorations and everything. But in the West, while many people who aren't religious, such as myself, celebrate Christmas just fine, Christmas is by and large a religious holiday, specifically for Christians and Catholics. So Jesus Christ and God are very important to how they celebrate the holiday. While Christianity does exist in Japan, it's an extremely small portion of the population, specifically 1.5%. The vast majority of Japanese people are either Buddhist or Shinto, 31% and 3% respectively. So that aspect of Christmas has no bearing at all for most of the Japanese people. Of course, the standard emotions that one feels for Christmas obviously aren't relegated solely to Christianity. If you need religion to be a good person, then you're a bad person, and yes, it is that simple. Things like love, kindness, and hope, these are nearly universal experiences regardless of religion, race, gender, creed, or nationality. So when you watch Christmas anime, while the religious aspects are usually absent, the emotions that they want you to feel are usually the same, just with the added anime twist, which is of course makes me like it much more than in the West because I'm such a fucking weeb, of course. When going over the list of my completed anime, well, which is way too long at this point I should add, to find Christmas-themed anime, I noticed that there aren't many full anime series that are Christmas-themed. In fact, while they may exist, I haven't seen any. Typically, you'll have an episode here or there in the middle of an anime that takes place on Christmas, and thus attempts to put you in the Christmas holiday spirit, and those will generally be in slice of life anime. But before we get to the meat of this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell when the video is done. And when the video is done, please comment on it and tell me what other Christmas-themed anime you'd recommend. And if you like this channel, then you should also check out another channel of mine called The Once and Future King, where I do anime episode reactions. It'll be linked in the description box down below. The anime that comes to mind right away is Tokyo Godfathers. It's one of the most famous anime ever made, largely because the late great Satoshi Kon directed it, who created a handful of excellent anime films over the years and one anime series, before he tragically died way too young in 2010. Others include Millennium Actress, Paprika, and his most famous work, Perfect Blue, not to mention the one lone anime series that I mentioned, Paranoia Agent. But in my opinion, Tokyo Godfathers is easily his magnum opus. I saw it for the first time just recently, and I was surprised as to how much I enjoyed it, because I usually greatly favor anime series over movies. I prefer long-form complex stories with lots of characters and moving parts and overarching storylines, but every once in a while a short-form humble stories are definitely nice. It's about three homeless people, an older alcoholic man named Gin, a transgendered woman named Hana, and a runaway teenage girl named Miyuki. They don't seem to get along very well. Their banter, especially at the very beginning of the film, is this strange blend of annoying and funny that it's difficult for me to describe. Then again, it's unthinkable that two polar opposite reactions could be given at the same exact time, but somehow Satoshi Kon manages to pull it off. However, the humor is only set dressing. The real meat of this movie is the drama, which focuses heavily on these unlikely three individuals who are different in many ways, not only in terms of age, but background and personalities, but share one common similarity: the tragedy of homelessness. When they find a baby abandoned in a dumpster one day, they take it upon themselves to take care of the child. Of course, they don't all agree on what they should do with the kid. Miyuki wants to take the kid to the police so the baby, which they tentatively named Kiyoko, could potentially be returned to her parents. Gin wants to leave the child where they found her, and Hana wants to raise her as her own. This is the main conflict of the film, and it's used to drive complex characters and emotions in such a short amount of time. Each of these three main characters only has a few core traits, but the film really runs with them and almost broke me. I'm not gonna lie, I shed some tears when I was watching Tokyo Godfathers, and I don't cry often while watching anime. I feel strong emotions a lot, but I can usually hold it in. But this movie was one of the few exceptions where I just couldn't take it, in a good way. Crying out of not only sadness, but also happiness. And it happened multiple times during the short runtime of the film. The emotional nature of this film comes from multiple areas. The first and most obvious is these three homeless individuals and how everybody else treats them like absolute garbage. It makes it even worse considering that we get to know them very well. We know personally that despite their flaws, they're generally great people. Not only did it work in the moment, but it helped to build up to the end of the film when they gave us positive emotions with the mother of the baby, when the mother of the baby wanted them to be her godparents. But on top of that, there's all of the twists regarding the baby and her real parents, and it's all very thought-provoking stuff. I'm trying to describe this as vaguely as possible, so I don't spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it yet. I don't care about spoilers myself in any way, but I know that a lot of people do. I'm basically in the minority there. In many of my videos where I'm analyzing anime in depth, I spoil basically everything. But in these videos, I like to keep them a bit more accessible. But anyways, let me just say that every single character, even the ones that appear in a few scenes, are memorable, complex, and human. And despite all the sadness that the film can make you feel, it ultimately has a happy ending, and it makes you feel what Christmas-themed stories are supposed to. Warm, fuzzy, happy. It makes you feel the bonds that many share with others and are supposed to be cherished really all the time, but especially during the holidays, and shows that nearly everybody is capable of creating and holding these bonds, regardless of how they might seem on the outside. It shows characters that have negative exterior appearances, but deep down are good people. Kind of the opposite of Satoshi Kon's more popular film, Perfect Blue. The next anime I want to talk about is Itsudate Mai Santa. This is a 2-episode OVA that was adapted from a manga series by the famous Ken Akamatsu, who's known for not creating, but helping popularize many tropes within romance and slice-of-life anime and manga. His best-known works are Negima, Yukio Holder, and, more than anything else, Love Hina. In fact, when I first looked at it, I thought that Itsudate Mai Santa was a Love Hina OVA spin-off or something like that, because the character designs and just general art style are so incredibly similar. I haven't read the manga, but it was only one volume, and that was published in its entirety in 1994, so I'm guessing that this OVA tells the entire story that he wrote. The story revolves around a boy oddly named Santa, which is a focus of teasing by others, who dislikes Christmas because he never has anybody to spend it with, due to having no friends, no girlfriend, and his parents constantly working. However, when he meets a teenage girl named Mai, a Santa Claus in training who has trouble using her magical powers, but has a deep-seated passion for making others feel happiness and joy. When the two of them meet, she helps him believe in Santa Claus again and gain the Christmas spirit, and he helps her use her powers better by simply learning to believe in herself so that she can become a great Santa Claus. The story is extremely short, so you can't go into it expecting it to be very fleshed out. with complex characters and lengthy story arcs, but for what it is, it was enjoyable. If you're familiar at all with Ken Akamatsu's work, then you know what to expect regarding humor and art, because it's literally exactly the same. However, a couple of things did surprise me. One, the main girl, Mai, was not a tsundere, a trope that I have mixed feelings about. When handled well, they can become some of my favorite waifus, like with Taiga Aisaka in Toradora. But if handled poorly, you get Naru, whom I don't hate, but can be extremely emotionally draining. And when handled horribly, you get most tsunderes, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I'm glad that he went in a different direction this time. Mai has the spunky, outgoing attitude of a lot of his female protagonists, but where she differs is that she isn't a tsundere. She does occasionally get angry with him, but it's only because she wants him to appreciate the Christmas spirit, and she's very blunt about her intentions with this. The second thing that surprised me in this series was that the protagonist was not a spineless coward. The normal protagonist that he writes I have mixed feelings about. I think it worked in Negima because Negi was so young. I don't even think he was a teenager yet. But by the time you're the age of Keitaro from Love Hina, you should be developing inner strength, and it always frustrates me when the male characters just let women in the women in their lives walk all over them. The other way it can work is that the character. The other way it can work is if the series really dives deep into the self-confidence and self-esteem issues, like with Naoto and Please Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. And yes, I know that series wasn't written by Ken Akamatsu, it was written by Nanashi, but I still think that it's a great comparison. In fact, that series does it so well that it actually reverses my opinion and makes me hate the people who are walking all over them, even when they're doing it with good intentions in mind. But anyway, Santa is not like that at all. He has issues with the holidays because he's always alone, but he is capable of standing up for himself and does so frequently. But that doesn't mean that he's 100% perfectly set in his ways either, and is capable of changing. And like I said before, considering how short the series is, he does quite quickly. However, she does too. It's a mutual relationship. They change each other equal amounts. They're a great pair. And they aren't even a romantic couple. Ken Akamatsu, shockingly enough, doesn't turn this into a romance between Santa and Mai, despite how great their chemistry is and how equal their relationship is. In fact, Santa has a crush on another girl entirely, and I kind of wish they did end up together because I love them that much. That is, until episode 2. In episode 1, the story wasn't taking them in the direction of making them a couple at all. But in episode 2, they suddenly state that Mai has a crush on Santa, which was never established before. It's definitely weird and rushed, but I'm more forgiving with it because of how incredibly short that it is. I actually enjoyed Itsudate My Santa much more than I expected to, especially after learning that it was created by Ken Akamatsu, because I have very mixed feelings about his works in general. I actually kind of wish that this series got a full series, instead of just one manga volume and 2 anime OVA episodes. I doubt this will ever happen because it was released 28 years ago, and few people know about it, even those who are Ken Akamatsu fans. Although I don't know if that's different in Japan or not. But I love if the series got like 12 or 13 episode anime series. It was that enjoyable and surprising, and along with everything else that's great in it, it does a great job making you feel the Christmas feels, almost as good a job as Tokyo Godfathers, although this series is much less serious of a story than Tokyo Godfathers. It has a few deep moments, but it's mostly comedy, and even those serious moments have punchlines attached to them. And they, at the At the very least, an extended series would have allowed their romance to develop more naturally and not sprung out of nowhere in episode 2. Like I said at the beginning of this video, there aren't a lot of anime out there that are specifically about Christmas itself, unlike in the West when there's, in my honest opinion, way too Christmas-themed movies, and most of them are absolutely horrendous. But if you want to get the same feels that these types of stories are supposed to fill you with, I'd actually recommend checking out slice of life anime. Slice of life is a genre of anime that depicts the ordinary lives of people. Well, ordinary for anime standards, that is. People who are often in high school, albeit not 100% of the time. They can include romance, but they don't necessarily have to. They always want to make you feel wholesome, warm, and happy. They might occasionally have sad or dramatic moments, but they almost always circle back around to positive emotions again. And a subgenre of slice of life anime that goes even further in this direction is moe blob anime. I'm talking about K-On! And Is the Order a Rabbit, series like that. On top of these anime giving you the general feeling and joy of happiness which makes them perfect for the holiday season, but many of them have individual episodes that take place on Christmas. My personal favorite is, in moe blob, is the Order a Rabbit, Season 1, Episode 11, and my favorite of all time is Episode 19 of Toradora, which also happens to be in my top 5 favorite romance anime of all time, too, and one of my favorite anime in general. The episode of Is the Order a Rabbit could be watched divorced from the rest of the series, although I do recommend that you get through the entire series as it's excellent. It even got a 3rd season like 2 or 3 years ago. However, the episode of Toradora absolutely cannot, as that's much more story and character driven than Is the Order a Rabbit. So if you jump right into episode 19 without seeing the rest of it first, then you won't know these lovable, complex characters, and it'll be difficult to feel connected to the characters even with the Christmas themes. There's also the Love Hina Christmas special, which is somewhere in the middle. You could probably watch it without watching the rest of the series itself, but I wouldn't recommend it. Oh, and the Aggressive Retsuko special, We Wish You a Metal Christmas, is a must-watch as well. Absolutely hilarious, just like the rest of the show, and wholesome too. And that does it for me. In the comment section down below, let me know your thoughts on all the anime that I talked about in this video, and tell me any other Christmas-themed anime that you know of that are worth watching, whether they're anime movies, full anime series, or individual episodes in anime. This was a fun video to write because I love anime that are able to make me feel these types of emotions. It's a form of escapism, and I don't often become enveloped in those kinds of emotions in real life in my adulthood. It brings me nostalgia about my childhood. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content in the future. Press the like button and hit the notification bell if you want to know whenever I upload a video, because I release new content all the time. Share it around other places on the internet if you think it deserves it, such as YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit, among other places, to try to help get this video and my channel more attention, and comment on the video down below. Also, if you like this channel, you should check out my other YouTube channel, The Once and Future King, where I do anime episode reactions. It'll be linked in the description box down below, and check out my Twitter as well if you're interested in seeing more of me. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.